2-2.
Following initial Department of Veteran Affairs exam or any scheduled further exam, re-examination, if an order, will be scheduled within not less than 2 years nor more than 5 years within the judgment of the rating board, unless there's always this word in 38. How many
Mm-hmm.
times does unless come up in 38 CFR, right? Unless another time period elsewhere is specified, like a routine future exam. I like to start the 5-year window off because it kind of frames why it exists in the first place.
Mm-hmm.
Um, it's a financial crutch, right? So the VBA deems you 5 years of $10, and I'm using 10 for easy math. 5 years at $10, your lifestyle now encompasses that $10 a part of your overall income, right? So if you have a 50% rating for whatever, um, let's say that amount is $1,200. The VA can't just take that away after 5 years. There's got to be some kind of evidence, like a static condition, to go ahead and reevaluate that. Something I said earlier is the word static at the 5-year mark acts as a speed bump against the VBA. That's what the 5-year rule is, right? It's the very first speed bump within that process, and it's very monetarily based off of your lifestyle for that VA compensation. Jason, what
I'm
do you
going
got?
to go on the other side
Yeah.
of this. So I think that the VA looks at the 5-year rule, we'll call it, more like it's less likely that we're going to have evidence to support a reduction after 5 years. So we're
Hmm.
not going to waste the time and resources to do that for everybody because we're going to lose, we'll call it, out on that. So we're going to actually, the VA is actually going to would spend more money in examinations and paying employees and doing all of that stuff, doing examinations after 5 years, versus actually getting reductions in order to compensate the difference, I
Yeah.
think. So I think that it's a cost saving measure,
Yeah.
and
Could be for
pipeline
sure.
measure. So it could be, it's probably both. Um, it's probably both. So here's the thing. I think that the 5-year rule is essentially a definition of static. So, and the reason why is because when you, on the same thing that you just pulled up, the first two things they talk about with regard to eliminating well, most likely eliminating a future exam, right?
Yeah.
Because there's always the off chance of something else, right? So in some cases, yeah, but for the majority of the time, this will protect you against a future exam. The first two things are: one, if your condition is established as static, no definition, just established as static. Then the second one is when findings and symptoms are shown by examination scheduled in paragraph B21 or I or whatever, which is that when they're established as static. So it's just referencing the one right before it. So when findings and symptoms are shown, so instead I'll insert that. So when findings and symptoms are shown by examination scheduled in the above, when disabilities are scheduled, established as static, of this section, or other examinations and hospital reports to have persisted without material improvement for a period of 5 years or more. So if the VA is saying that you can prove that your condition has persisted without material improvement for 5 years or more, it doesn't mean from the date you were granted service connection, 5 years from that date. It
Mm.
doesn't mean that.
Yeah.
It means, did you provide proof of that 5 years? Well, if you only gave them a little nugget and you didn't give them all the documentation preceding that, well, now you didn't prove that it's been there for more than 5 years. You've only proved that you have it, and here it is. And you gave it's been persistent. It hasn't gotten any better. You gave them only, I'm diagnosed, and here's a nexus. Well, now they're going to start the clock at that time frame for 5 years and then do a future exam. So why wouldn't you try to give them the proof, if you have the ability to show that you have had a condition that's persisted without material improvement for a period of 5 years or more, at the time you filed your claim, because that is what they're doing here, is explaining that that's what static is. So it's almost like the first two, 1 and 2, are the same thing. It's just static, and this is how they determine static. And so that's my thought on the 5-year. You got anything else you want to throw in there?
Yes, last thing, and then we can actually move to the 10-year. There is a lawyer website. When it comes to the law, that's when lawyer websites come in clutch, okay? This is from woodslawyers.com. They're accredited VA attorneys. No, there's no partnership here. The reason I like this verbiage here is it's in plain language, right? So you got what static and what the 5-year rule means as Clay says it. You got what static and what the 5-year rule means as Jason says it. And now we have like a plain language version from an accredited attorney website. I'm just going to read this verbatim because I absolutely love how they structure this. Your VA rating is considered stabilized if the VA determines it's unlikely to change. Static, right? And it's going to be it's been ongoing and unchanged for 5 years, 5-year rule. Once you have reached the 5-year mark, it's more difficult for the VA to attempt to alter your rating. That's the speed bump thing that we're both talking about, and lower your payment amounts. That's the payment amount thing we talked about, right? After 5 years, a disability rating from the VA can only be reduced if the condition shows, this is key here, sustained improvement over more than one evaluation. That part is the main reason I wanted to show this, because what we see in the CFR is material improvement, right? What the heck does material improvement mean? It sounds like legal jujitsu. I much prefer the sustained improvement. And so when my condition was reevaluated, which absolutely sucked, I had evidence that indicated the improvement. That was not material evidence, right? It wasn't sustained evidence, which is one of many reasons that my rating in that instance stayed the same. But that's the 5-year rule, Jason. Unless you have anything to add to that, I'd like to move on to the 10-year rule. Go ahead and start this one out.
All right. Well, the 10-year rule is often talked about. And to be honest with you, it's really not that exciting to me. To be honest, I mean, it sounds like it's going to be something great, and really, it's quite frankly, it's not. So what the 10-year rule is it's basically that I'll give you the streamlined as you can get, because it's very lackluster, I believe. And I feel like you, Clay, like just clouds and just garbage. All right. So
Welcome.
welcome to your world. Yeah.
Yeah.
Down with consulting companies. All right. So the 10-year rule is essentially the